Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, wherever you are. My name is Jon Arentz, and this is the Business Freedom Formula podcast. Today, our guest is Sebastian Uzcategui, and he is going to tell us a little bit about his business, which, if I remember correctly, has to do with personal finance. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. So, Sebastian, tell us a little bit about your business, how long you've been in business, um, maybe
Yeah.
what kind of client you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Well, I've been in business by now nearly 5 years. It's been mostly a passion project that I've wanted to put out into the world. I'm a very purpose-focused entrepreneur, as it should be. That's the kind of key difference between those, the fake entrepreneurs and the real ones is whether you're chasing dollar or purpose. And I've always been after purpose. It's the kind of thing that builds something genuine that you can put out into the world and have an impact. So, my business has always been focused on promoting the financial literacy of the world, promoting the knowledge of it all, and having people in those conversations that so many rich people have that lower class people sometimes don't have. I know I sure didn't grow up having those conversations of finance and investing, and it made it very difficult to break out of that environment. It made it very difficult to break out of the habits that was keeping me and my family poor and find that prosperity that this country certainly does allow for, but doesn't quite enlighten us about.
Yeah, that is just like something we never seem to learn in school.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly. That's a problem.
I'm a couple of decades older than you are, and I know that it was never taught when I was in school, but it was never talked about at home either.
Mm,
I'm like at the tail end of the boomer generation, and people just didn't talk about finances. That you didn't even ask, you know.
right.
I
And that's part
expressed
of
a
the
little
problem.
bit more with my children growing up, but I never knew what to tell them to do because I didn't know.
Yeah. Exactly right. And that's kind of the curse of the lower classes is we were never in those conversations. So there's never any way to even know of the tools that can break us out of that generational poverty, right?
Mhm. Right.
So it's definitely still not taught in school. I can tell you that with absolute certainty because I'm 23 years old. It's not too long that I was just in high school. And
Okay.
yeah, definitely not what was taught. What was taught was the standard systems, go to college, get a decent degree, find a job. And what we're seeing happening today for the first time ever is the decline of colleges, the decline of the appeal of it, and the demand for it. People are after first and foremost experience, and secondly, people are beginning to understand that the regular 9 to 5 is dying out. People with full master's degrees aren't even able to find jobs that pay more than minimum wage anymore. And now that's ridiculous. So, truth be told, it's become more crucial than ever to really learn about all the tools that are accessible to you.
Sure. Certainly. It's more than 401ks
Right.
and your social security check. So,
Exactly right.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's always said actively managed investments will always perform better. If you know what you're doing and you can actively, run your own
mhm,
show, it will always bring more prosperity. And that's kind of what, to answer your initial question, what my business has been focused on is teaching people, hey, these are the ways to go to really get the best bang for your buck, really start, paying off debt, paying bills, or just getting some breathing room. We're out of time. That's true. There's so many people that are working 2, 3 jobs. We don't have more time to trade for money. What we need to
sure.
start learning is how to leverage money to grow for itself, right? And that's the
Right.
key to that financial success.
Yeah, it's the same thing a lot of entrepreneurs find is they can go out and do the job themselves, but they have only so many hours. To grow,
Exactly.
you need to add staff, and that
Exactly.
leverages more time, allowing businesses to grow. And every business of substance that's grown has done that same thing. And I can see the same thing with money. If you don't know how to invest, and I think that by and large, to a lot of us, investing is this mystical,
Yeah.
you
Blanket
know,
term.
you need a wizard or something to figure it out for you because you don't even understand what the terms are. Now, I am one of those MBAs you talked about, okay? And I can tell you, I have no clue what a derivative is. It just was
Yeah, no,
never
I hear.
something that was taught in my undergraduate or graduate degree. So I can see where, that may be more advanced than what the regular person we use for investing, but I can see where not understanding the terms and what they mean have a significant impact on your ability to generate wealth for your family.
Right. Exactly. And, there was never a problem with working a 9 to 5, but there is a problem with not using the maximum amount of tools that you have at your
Mhm.
disposal, right? So that's how people end up working, including my parents, for a long time, working those 9 to 5s and never seeing anything even growing in your savings account, right?
Right.
When you live life on this defensive level where it's like you're just saving for the next time you have a big spend, or even just going on vacation, knowing that, yeah, you get to have fun for a week or two, and then you have to get back to save for another 10 years before you can do that again,
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not the life that I wanted for myself or for anyone for that matter. Um, so I mean, yeah, exactly. You're totally right. It's a question of knowing how to actually use these assets. So that's the kind of stuff that I teach people. And it gets difficult because you're absolutely right. You and a lot of people don't even know what derivatives are, or some of the most basic things when it comes to investing, because it is kind of this massive blanket term.
Mhm.
And when you try to get into it, because of the state of the industry of finance, what you find is just a bunch of, I mean, it's worst case, you find a bunch of scammers. Best case, you find people charging you $5,000 for their course, and it's always just very entry level information. So that's the kind of thing that I was always out to want to eliminate in the industry. I wanted to fix that. I wanted to be a solution for people. So I have a strong philosophy of, hey, I'm going to teach first before I ever get to even charge you, because I want you to see results before ever getting charged. And that's the kind of vision and purpose that helped me, help my reputation expand, help my business expand.
Mhm.
It didn't get seen at first, but as more and more people poured in and saw that this was a solution to the industry, it kind of spoke for itself at a certain point, and my business really started to blow up.
Now that makes sense because I know when it comes to getting people to invest in something, um, most of us are a little edgy
Right,
on that.
as it should be.
We're,
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out, is this person for real? Am I actually going to learn enough? Um, that kind of thing. Like I would say that, no, really, realistically, like my MBA, it cost me a lot of money. I'm not sure I got the value out of it yet,
Right.
but yet I did that without hesitation
Hmm.
because this has been in a kind of an ingrained thing in society where if somebody had asked me to hand them $50,000 and they were going to invest it for me, I'd be kind of like, I didn't just bump my head. Okay. Let's talk about this. But we tend to do that in other arenas.
Right.
So
Well, it all comes down to traditions at the end of the day. Traditionally, we're told to pursue that MBA, get that degree, get into the workforce. And because of that, we don't even question it when it comes time to make
right,
that life dedication. People spend their entire lives paying off student loans.
sure.
And it just feeds a system that doesn't belong to you. And that's part of the problem. We're feeding systems that don't belong to us because we're afraid to start our own. And that's the kind of thing that I completely understand. A lot of my clients had come to me from places of fear or insecurity saying, hey, I don't really know about investing. I've never done it before. I'm scared to do it. And that's the kind of thing that I totally understand and I need to break. It's my purpose to break that fear, get through that initial kind of learning curve with people, right? And that's part of the reason why I say, I'm going to teach you for free until you start seeing results. And then, you can pay me out of profit, but never out of pocket. And even then, I don't take commission or anything from their investments. I'm simply there to educate them. I charge like a flat fee simply to keep the business going. And then
Sure.
everything they make is to keep for themselves,
Mhm.
as it should be. And that's, I mean, it's allowed me to work with people that I otherwise wouldn't have worked with.
Right.
There's ladies, old ladies in my curriculum that are already retired. There's kids younger than I am. It's a huge spectrum, and it's all sorts of people because we're all after the same financial freedom. There is no specific clientele when it comes to the business of finance. What there is a common point of pain, and that's fear, insecurity, trauma, even for some people that were scammed in the past. And I want it to be a home for those people.
Sure. That sounds good. Now, what your classes are these done like in a webinar type of environment? Are they held in person? I imagine if to do them in person, you'd just be stuck in your little geographic
Right,
area unless you travel a lot, and that gets expensive. So I would
right.
assume that you do webinars or you do online trainings. Uh, for this type of thing? Is that typically what you do?
Well, it's actually a mix of all of them. I actually do travel quite a bit. I'm getting flown out to Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee this year, which is
Okay.
really nice to do some in-person teaching. But
Certainly.
I do like to stay accessible to absolutely everyone, worldwide even. So I do have video lessons. I do live webinars every morning, pretty much. And then a monthly big kind of workshop for everyone to kind of hop in on, and all of that stuff. I mean, almost all of it is free of charge. The only thing that I even charge is, my travel expenses if I do go somewhere live. Um, but I mean, that's really all it boils down to is I want to be as accessible as possible and as one-on-one as possible as well. So I like to be live and keep the chats open for all of my students and clients to ask questions and have
That's
me answer them
question.
right there.
Yeah. So then I think it would be fair to say that your ideal client is really anybody, anybody who wants to learn how to invest and do things with a, I mean, there's always, I mean, and let's face it, and I'm sure that you mentioned this, there's always a chance of losing your investment in any time you
Well,
make an
yeah.
investment in something, but they're not losing that investment to you. I mean, they're not giving you this and then they don't get results and now they feel like they were had you. They're actually, you're showing them that they're going to be able to do this, that they're going to increase their investment, and then we move forward from there. So,
Right. Well, exactly right.
yeah,
It also boils down to one crucial thing, right? Of course, there's always a possibility of losing your investment. As
sure.
a matter of fact, there's a possibility of losing everything in life. But here's the point: is this is where our people, especially in the lower classes, are so destroyed, and the reason why we never see prosperity. We are taught that risk is something to run from. My
Right.
parents kept working the same job for 17 years because they wanted consistency. Next thing you know, the warehouse shut down, and they were both kicked out on their butts with absolutely nothing.
Right.
They never invested. They never bought any properties. They never did anything in the stock market.
Mhm.
Nothing. They were left with nothing after 17 years. And that's the kind of thing that I say, because we run from risk, we lose at the in the long run because it's always there. Risk is not something to flee from, it's something to conquer. So when you talk about investing, yeah, there's a chance of losing your initial investment, whatever it may be, but the game is risk management. So I'll share with you like some numbers, the exact numbers that I have for my own investments. As a matter of fact,
Mhm.
I'm looking at an 80 to 90% accuracy rating. So I'm hitting 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 investments that I make. If I do lose, I'm capping my losses at 15%. And on my investments that profit, I'm looking at 40 to 80%. So yes, even though there's a possibility of me losing that 10, 20, percent of the time, over the span of 10 trades, I'm way in the green. I'm way profitable. I was a full-time trader before I even started my business for some time.
Okay.
And that's as it should be. It's a question of managing the risk, punching the numbers in so that even if you do lose, it's calculated. It's part of the
Right.
plan, it's part of the journey, and you'll win in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that there's a reason T-bills pay 3% and historically the stock market pays 12. There's a lot less risk investing in a T-bill than investing in the stock market. And of course, there are riskier investments. But we take some of these things for granted, and it's a simple, I think, explanation. The more risk, the higher you expect the return to be. And you're right, you need to manage that. And you don't just kind of put it away and then just kind of ignore it for 20 years,
Right.
which I think
Yeah.
is what some people do, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's two different, big branches of investments. You've got your long term and your short term. Long term, people like to talk about how, that 12% that you can see in the stock market is risky. It's it's genuinely not. There are ways of arranging it. I mean, it depends on your knowledge, of course. If you don't know what you're doing, yes, but there are ways of arranging your long-term investments to be virtually risk-free.
Mhm.
You got your trailing stop losses, compound interest, and of course, you want to be in on blue chip stocks, which effectively guarantee that you're going to see a return over the span of a couple of years. That's all well and fine and all, but it is, like you said, typically pretty slow. It's you lock it in there for 5, 10 years, and maybe you do see like your money double or even triple. Some companies are I mean, they're unbelievable. You can see them really blow up and give you like a 4 or 5 times return over the span of just a few years. But the real way to leverage your cash, extremely powerfully is by really perfecting safe, intelligent short-term investments
Right.
where you can see that 40% return even over the span of just a couple of hours, even, you know?
Hmm.
It's a very delicate thing to manage, and a lot of people will not be able to, on their own, do that calculated risk management that I'm talking about. And that's part of the reason why, I mean, people have been left generally in today's age with two options: try to do it all on your own and inevitably lose a lot of money,
Hmm.
or pay thousands of dollars to try to learn about it, hope and cross your fingers that you're in the right place and the guy doesn't just scam you. Sit through those awful courses, and at the end of them, just listen to the guy tell you for the real information, pay another $2,000 for the next course, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
on and so forth. It sucks,
Yeah.
right?
It does.
The industry,
It does.
it's in shambles. It sucks. It's a terrible industry, because of these people that kind of dominate it, right?
Mhm.
But that's the alternative that I wanted to be is, hey, these are the real risk management numbers. They're not difficult to follow. It's just a question of being in the right place to learn about them and provide that information to people accessibly.
Okay. All righty. Well, Sebastian, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that my viewers have learned a lot from you, and we'll talk some more. I think in the future, I think that if there's enough interest, we may get you on again. I think this is a topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in. So I do appreciate your time and effort, and I will talk with you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an honor to
Thank
be
you.
here.
All right.